The United States federal government corporation is insolvent.
And if anything else was insolvent, it would be go under, right?
It would be.
It would go under.
It would go under.
Right.
It would be liquidated.
Right.
So I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Why don't the people themselves liquidate the damn corporation and take it over themselves? Fire all the... You don't have to go to Paul. Fire all the managers and hire our own. And I decided I want to know what the hell is all this going on. So I bought a set of the Title 26, which is the U.S. tax code, revenue code, and I read the damn thing.
Oh, okay.
And I found out that what we were told on the streets isn't what the book says. So you go to H&R Block or you go to the big ones, and they were running this through, and yet I read it, and that's not what it said. So when I started trying to apply what the code said, I was in audit many times up in Salt Lake City, and I never met an auditor that had ever read the code.
Wow. So you actually got to experience where you experienced truth about our financial situation and what's said by our IRS is financially the correct way, but you didn't experience that as your truth, that it's different.
Well, I was trying to understand the code and apply the code. Now, they're supposed to be the experts in the code, and it is, you can understand what the code says, but the troops out here don't apply it the way it's said.
Oh, so it's the application.
And by misrepresentation or failure to fully disclose, we're being head down a path where we don't even owe it, except that once we start, they say it's voluntary, and so we have to continue on.
What does money mean to you? So when you hear the word money, how do you define it? So when you're saying to us money, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Well, one of the things money has to represent is value. It has to be an exchangeable unit. So it really doesn't matter what you use as money, as long as it represents an equivalent value. So we're talking about my labor, your labor. The labor is that thing which the common man has as his product. So he puts labor into the market. Now he wants to go get commodities. So he has to be able to be paid in an equivalent worth of his labor. So he gets worth. So being an accountant, I understand that in accounting, all there are is assets and liabilities.
Okay.
There are debits and credits, and it's that simple. In status, in law, there are creditors and debtors, but that's an accounting term again. Right. So there are creditors and debtors. And so it's a rule that you can't, that at least a liability cannot be money because it's a debt. Yet we're living in a money quote system today where liabilities are
money,
the circulating money, and that's a fraud.
Okay.
So our government is defrauding us, which means they're stealing our labor at less than value.
Do you feel, and you've been kind of expressing it a little bit, do you feel that money as currency has been beneficial or detrimental to our society?
Absolutamente detrimental, because the government steps in and claims the power of declaring legal tender. And so the Supreme Court upholds legal tender. And all legal tender is fraud.